what was the problem? Okay, so we'll have a small discussion on this. What was the problem?
The problem was the monument was deteriorating.
Deteriorating. Okay, so they actually used a structured approach of understanding or defining the problem. So what was the first obvious reason for this problem? Why Washington Monument was eroding?
Chemical spraying was mentioned.
Yeah, so chemicals were sprayed. Okay, so now what was the next question? Why the chemicals being sprayed there?
Because there were a lot of pigeon droppings and all that.
Yeah, so a lot of pigeon droppings were there. Okay, so the next question was why pigeon droppings? Why pigeons came there?
A lot of insects.
Yeah, insects. Okay, so one next obvious question is okay, why insects are attracted to Washington Monument?
Yeah. The webs, a lot of webs and.
Okay, yeah, so a lot of spiders were there. Okay,
it was insects.
It is otherwise. Okay, it was earlier the spiders.
Correct.
Okay,
Spiders and then the insects. Yeah.
Yeah, so then the insects. Now, why the insects be there?
Because of the lights.
Because of the lights. So, what was the solution they suggested?
Turn off lights after
Yeah, especially in the dusk. Okay, so it was a simple solution. So this is a classic example of showing the importance of defining the problem. Okay, so what was happening was that they spent millions of dollars, okay, because they didn't understand or define the problem clearly. Okay, so you may be knowing about 5 whys, especially maybe Bhargav and Subramanian may be knowing this. Okay, the 5 whys. Okay.
Yes.
So this is actually developed by Sakichi Toyoda. Okay, so he is actually considered as a father of Japanese industry revolution. So he actually developed this technique. Okay, he say that 5 whys. Okay, so for example, we can have one example. People don't buy products in our online store. So that was the first question. Okay, then one more question was asked. Okay, because they don't complete the purchase, they drop off. Again, another why was asked because they tend to abandon the shopping cart. Again, a why is asked because the cart is where we show the shipping detail. They think that it will take approximately 10 days. Okay, maybe the customers were not willing to wait for 10 days. So again, a question being asked. Okay, because people buy our product or gift to someone just a couple of days before the gifting day. 10 days is too long for ship. So it's a very excellent technique to dig deep into the problem. Now there is another technical who, what, where, when, why, and how. Okay, so typically its acronym is 5 wives and 1 husband. Okay, just like a Panjali. Okay, so who is involved in this process, who are the different users, what are the different elements, where does it happen, when does it occur, so why does it happen, and how is this situation created. So these are some questions which we can ask for the problem, so in order to clearly define the problem. Okay, then just going forward. Now the problem definition have 2 steps. So one is called analysis and another one is called synthesis. Can you tell me what is the difference between analysis and synthesis?
Analyze could be just looking at what could be the root cause.
Okay. How about synthesis?
Synthesis is something to bring it together in terms of connecting the dots.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. So analysis is actually breaking the complex concepts and problems, okay, so that we can easy to understand. So in the empathy stage, what we did was, okay, we try to identify the user needs, okay, then we documented it. Okay, now the next stage is synthesizing. Okay, so now you have a lot of data, okay, but you don't know what to do with this data. So you need to actually put this data together, put this puzzle together to understand or define the problem. So in the case of defining the problem, we focus more on synthesizing. Okay. Now, how do we synthesize? So basically, there is something called point of view. So point of view is a framing or reframing of a problem. So there are three things, basically 2 things. We need to understand the users and we need to understand the need, and based on that, we will get an insight. Okay. So when you try to create a point of view, okay, it is actually a meaningful and actionable problem statement. So typically in design thinking, okay, we say that, okay, we need to create a problem statement starting with something called how might we. Okay, for example, you can see one example. You have observed the youth tends not to watch TV programs at TV at home. Some questions which can guide and spark your ideation. So the advantage of how might be questions is that it becomes an inspiration for the next stage. I mean the ideation stage. So basically we need to create a problem statement like this. How might we take TV more social so that youths feel more engaged? How might we enable TV programs to be watched anywhere at any time? How might be watching TV at home more exciting? So we will do an activity on this. So once you create a point of view, okay, there are some few guidelines. So it should be a narrow focus. You need to be very specific, but it should not be too narrow, because if you actually put a lot of technical jargons, okay, especially it can actually hinder the creativity process. Okay, of course, we need to have a lot of scientific data or scientific solutions, but then when it comes to the next stage of ideation, okay, it should not give you a lot of technical jargons. Okay, it should not be too narrow, but it should be narrow also. So frame the problem as a problem statement, and it should inspire other people, and it should guide innovation, and it should actually should be a very sexy and should capture the people attention. Okay, so I'll just show you one more example. So this is one example. How might we design a driverless car which is environment friendly, cheap, and easy more to share? Okay. So the two broad question is how might we design transportation? So when it comes to the inspiring and specific question, okay, we can have how might we design a driverless car which is environment friendly, cheap, and easy to share for more people. So after some time, what we do is, okay, the based on the customer journey map and empathy map, okay, we identified, okay, some problem segments, and based on that, we need to create problem statements. We will do that exercise maybe after some time. So again, I'm reemphasizing. So we are into the problem or defined stage. So there are something called analysis and synthesis. In the case of defined stage, we focus on synthesis. So there's something called we need to create a point of view. So how do we create a point of view? We need to understand who is the user, what are their needs, and based on that, we need to create a point of view. So when it comes to the point of view, we need to create a problem statement in such a way that it should have something called how might we. So the question should not be too narrow, or it should not be too broad. Okay, it should be basically a narrow exercise, and it should have an actionable work, and it should be inspire others also, and it should focus on human centric. The question should be focused on the user. Okay, now I just want to take to the next level, so we will come back to this level. So time being part, okay, I will come to this level because we need to have the data, then understand this, define the problem. So but we need to analyze the data. So I'm coming to the next stage called analyzing the data, then we can come to the defined stage. So one of the biggest differentiation for the Walmart is that, okay, they actually always offer low prices. So can you tell me how they actually offer low prices? Because that is they actually gain a competitive advantage and they actually capture the market also. What can be the secret how they can offer the low prices?
They go by volume.
Okay, they go by volume. Good.
And they negotiate with the supplier as well.
Okay, great. So let us see, okay, what Walmart's founder says. Okay, so he said that, okay, people think we got big by putting big stores in small towns, but it is all about power of information or data or analytics. Okay, as you rightly mentioned that, okay, they can have a bargaining with the suppliers, but unless and otherwise, if they don't understand, okay, which product have a higher demand, which product have getting higher margin, okay, they cannot bargain with the suppliers and provide cheaper rate also. So data information is very, very critical. Analytics is very, very critical. So I'm just going to the next stage. Okay, we will be talking a bit on analytics. So basically, I will ask a lot of questions. Okay, so it's a very theoretical question. Okay, so the basis for the analytics is statistics. Okay, so you need to have a good knowledge about statistics. So what is statistics? Maybe Anirudh, Sridhar, just maybe a layman language.
Statistics is a way of ensuring that you analyze, you study the data, and make some
Okay,
informed decisions of it.
yeah, good, good.
Maybe different methods to collect the data, and then
Yeah, yeah.
first identify maybe the sample, collect the data, and then analyze that data.
Okay, good. Okay, so it starts with, in fact, okay, collecting, classifying, summarizing, organizing, analyzing, and finally we need to interpret also, because there is no use if you don't interpret the data also. So let me take you very basic funda of statistics, okay, because if you don't know this, okay, it will be very difficult to understand the problems of the users. So why study statistics? Okay, data is everywhere. Okay, every seconds the data is being produced. Okay, so in your smartphone also, okay, if you actually open your WhatsApp, okay, so every day lot of data being produced. And one specific characteristics of the current data is that, okay, almost 80% of the data is actually we call it as unstructured data. Okay, so there is something called structured data and unstructured data. So what do you mean by structured data and what do you mean by unstructured data?
Structured data has a pattern.
Yeah.
It could be numerical or otherwise, but unstructured data does not have a pattern.
So can you give an example of unstructured data?
Could be any open text fields that is available when information is plugged in. There
Yeah.
are certain things which has very clear drop downs or very clear options for you to choose.
Yeah.
So that is
Good.
your unstructured and structured data.
Yeah, yeah. So as Bhargav rightly mentioned that, okay, structured data have a numerical values. Okay, so it is very easy to analyze. The unstructured data can be a customer reviews in Amazon or a social media reviews. Okay, so these are basically words or the sentiments. And if you actually open the WhatsApp, it is more of a text data. It shows the sentiments. But that is actually a powerful insight for the marketers, consumer researchers, and design thinkers. Okay, and it is being said that, okay, almost 80% of the data now being produced is actually unstructured data. So it becomes a big challenge for a lot of people, okay, especially those who actually insisted on Excel or SPSS for the data analysis, because unstructured data is a big challenge, and every day the data is being produced in a big way. Okay, so in the design thinking also we had a bit of unstructured data. Okay, when you talk about empathy map, okay, we talk about the emotions, we capture the emotions. Okay, so that is basically an unstructured data. Okay.
Pratik, yeah. So can we call this in qualitative data as a structured data and quantitative data as structured and qualitative as
Yeah,
unstructured data?
yeah.
Okay.
Good question. Now, okay, statistics is applied anywhere, okay, in HR or sales or customer analytics or management, okay, so everywhere it is being applied. So, the companies which are currently successful, okay, if you talk about top 100 companies, okay, the earlier, they actually leveraged on the data. Earlier, we say that 100 years back, okay, the world was led by the oil producing companies like Shell, okay. Now, data is the new oil. If you talk about Facebook or Netflix, Uber, Google, Amazon, okay, everything actually leveraged really on the data, okay. So those who can leverage, really leverage on the data, they can be successful also. Maybe from a professional friend also, if you know a bit of analytics, okay, you have a clear edge in whatever domain you are into, whether you are in the sales or supply chain, HR, or it can make a lot of difference. Now, so jobs in statistics is expected to grow faster than average for all occupations. Okay. So basically, talking about from my personal perspective, okay, so I was very bad in mathematics in school. Okay, even my sister is excellent. Okay, she almost got 100% in all the schools, and she did her MSc mathematics with a 98 percentage. Okay, when compared to her, I'll make it 50 or 60 percentage marks. Okay, so max is not come to me. Okay, so what happened is, okay, since max is not a uh, cake for me. Okay, so my parents asked me to go join for a commerce. Okay, there you PUC commerce. Okay, then I thought that, okay, max will not be there. Okay, Then but that was a wrong perception. Okay, so when I go into graduation, okay, again bit of statistics were there. Okay, so when I did my MBA, there was something called quantitative techniques, operations research were there. When I did my MSc psychology, also again statistics and operation research were there. PhD also statistics is there. Okay, so then I thought that it is basically focused for academics, but when it comes to the job also, everywhere statistics or the mathematics there, so it is everywhere. You cannot currently ignore maths, power of maths or statistics. So it becomes like a basic literacy skills. Now let me ask you one question, very important question. What are the different kind of analytics? Do you know? You might be heard about kinds of analytics. What are the different kind of analytics?
So the one that comes to my mind immediately is speech analytics, which is also called voice analytics, and text analytics.
Okay, good. Any other category you can think about?
There are sentiments, like the sentiment analysis and all that is pulled out from this, but these
I
are
mean,
the two main.
I'm talking about the broad category. Okay.
Yeah,
So
apart from data, I think it's only speech and text is what just comes to my mind.
Okay, yeah. Anybody else? Anirudh, okay.
Something like predicting the event
Good.
before
Good.
it happens. Something like say if A happens, then B will follow. Something like that you predict. Say because of X, Y happens. So that is one thing. Something like also if observing that trend of Y happening and say where all Y can happen in the future. Say something like before itself, if you kind of predict that if these factors are there, then Y will happen. Something like doing a post-mortem report. Now Y has happened. Now what is that is one kind of analytics which I think, and
Great.
other kind of which I see is predicting before itself Y will happen because of these factors is what I broadly.
Excellent. Okay, so basically there are four kind of analytics. So one is called descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. So descriptive is basically, as you rightly mentioned, that it's a postmortem. Okay, so what happened? Okay, so it may give a lot of percentage analysis. Okay, how many men are interested in this product? Okay, or which feature of the product is more important for the customers? Okay, or which product have highest sales? Okay, so these are called descriptive analytics. Now, diagnostic analytics, why it is happened? For example, why this product have maximum sales? Okay, so there's one customer expectation say that, okay, I love the packaging of this product, so I give maximum weightage for that. Okay, so maybe you can put some kind of correlation and say that, okay, because of this packaging, okay, I'm attracted to this product. So it talks about diagnostic analytics. Now, what if a predictive analytics? So what will happen? Like, for example, the weather forecast. So based on the past data, past few days data, we can say that, okay, whether rain will happen or not. You know, earlier, okay, maybe in our school and college days, okay, weather department, okay, they say that, okay, if rain is there, okay, there will be no rain. But nowadays they are able to predict it almost on 99% accuracy. If they say that rain will be there, rain will be there. Okay, because they actually have a lot of powerful insights, predictive analytics. So what can be the future sales? Okay, well, how much sales will happen after 6 months? So basically they rely on the past data. No, any idea what is a prescriptive analytics? So that can be considered as the highest form of analytics.
Based on these predictions, what should you be doing? What can be done?
What can be done?
Yeah.
Great. So can you think about an example of prescriptive analytics?
I think, like Anirudh mentioned, you can look at probably predicting the. For example, if you take a BPO scenario, you can look at why we are looking at, let's say, certain type of volumes coming in. When I say the kind of calls or chats that are coming in, and what you could see in the next coming weeks or months, could be predictive.
Predictive, yeah.
Like you're just predicting for forecasting it, saying this type of calls or chat or whatever you might get. And prescriptive would be what you should be doing to ensure that you cater to it. Right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So Pradeep, in simple terms, can we say the solution to a problem is a predictive analysis? Like
Excellent. Okay, so it is basically a proactive steps. So let me take a very simple example. Okay, you know the Google Maps. Suppose if you want to go from airport to your Bannerghatta road. Okay, if I'm a layman. Okay, if I don't know the routes of Bangalore. Okay, so initially they may say that okay it may have a 25 kilometers. Okay, and they say that okay this is the route and this much time will take. Okay, so that is basically you talk about predictive analytics. Okay, but after some time there can something may happen. There can be a huge traffic block. So what did Google Maps say?
It gives you the best route
Yeah, it gives
or
a
the
best.
alternate route.
Yeah, so they said that okay you go to that alternate route. So it is giving you some kind of proactive measure, proactive steps for the customer, so that okay we will be avoiding that problem. Okay. Uh, so there are different kind of tools used for each. Okay, for example, in the case of descriptive analytics, you do a more of a percentage analysis. You can do with a simple calculator, or you can do with a simple Excel. Diagnostic analytics, you can do analytics with Excel. Okay, you can do a lot of statistical analysis with Excel. Excel is a very powerful tool. Have you heard about something called SPSS?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it is actually developed by IBM. So a lot of diagnostic analytics you can be used with SPSS. Now predictive analytics, okay, again, okay, you need to do a lot of regression. Okay, there's a statistical tool called regression, and we need to talk bit on probability. So there we may have to use bit of R or a Python. Basically, when it comes to the huge data analysis, okay, we have to use a bit on R and Python. Even SPSS can also do a bit of predictive analytics. But when it comes to the prescriptive analytics, okay, all your machine learning, okay, all your artificial intelligence, where the machine can really understand if this is the parameter, okay, we need to have this kind of steps. So we need to train machine, and we need to train based on the data which is generated. So it involves the using of either R or Python extensively. Okay, so there are a lot of mathematics also comes into the picture. All kind of probability, algebra, everything will happen on prescriptive analytics. Okay, but from a business domain experts, okay, there is no need to go to do a backend coding, but we need to have an understanding of how it is happening. So I'm going to the next slide. So when it comes to the retail marketing, okay, so descriptive analytics talks about historical data, what are the different units sold, okay, how much money spent on advertisement. So predictive analytics actually predict, okay, especially Amazon do a lot of prediction, okay. So based on that, they can actually gather products on their for their customers also. So prescriptive analytics, okay, so they actually said find the best set of pricing and advertising to have the maximum sales revenue. So this is one example. So if you want to be successful in analytics, there are three important quality required. Okay. So one is we need to have a good understanding about the business. Okay. So typically, I have seen a lot of data scientists. Okay, they are very good in programming. Okay, but they don't understand the problem. Okay. So unless and otherwise, if you don't have a business acumen, okay, it will be very difficult for the data scientist to understand the problem, or even for a pure analytical professional. So you have to we have some information resources. So we need to have an access for different database like SQL or other kind of MySQL kind of database management. Okay, we need to have a process capability. So process capability is that okay, we need to know a little bit of programming, or we need to use different kind of tools. Okay, have you heard about some tools like Tableau, Power BI?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
Pradeep.
yeah. So those people who does not want high-end analysis, or those who don't want to do a machine learning, okay, Tableau and Power BI, it is basically a data visualization tool, but it have a lot of statistical capability also. On the background, okay, you can do a lot of regression, you can lot of prediction also. It's a beautiful tool for especially for people like us, okay, who are doing a lot of business analysis. Tableau and Power BI is an excellent bet. Now, let us take you to very fundamental element of statistics. So it will be basically a question and answer session. Okay, I will just ask some questions, and based on that, okay, we will move forward. So first is an experimental unit. Okay, so in this session we will be talking about sample, we'll be talking about variables, we'll be talking about levels of measurement, we'll be talking about types of research. So first is an experimental unit. Okay, so statistics start with something called experimental unit. So experimental unit is an object, okay, where we try to understand or study the problem, okay, or which we collect the data. So it can be a person. For in the case of design thinking, you talk about users, okay. So it can be a person. It can be a place, okay. So you are talking about impact of place, okay. It can be a particular thing. It can be an event also. Okay, for example, Diwali event and what will be the outcome of sales. Okay, so it can be a particular event. Now, do you know what is the population? Population and sample. What is the difference between population and sample? It's a very simple. Okay.
Population is basically the entire data set that you're basically looking at, and sample is just a part of that. So it's more like it's the superset and the subset.
Excellent. Okay. So if you actually study the entire population, we call it a census. Okay, and so as Bhargav rightly mentioned that, okay, it is a subset, okay, of population. Okay. So there is no need to study the entire population. It will take a lot of time. Okay, so we will take only the sample. So these are just basic. Now I'm showing you some slides. Okay, so it's a visual slide. So you need to guess. Okay, what is a missing word? Okay, so there will be some pictures will be there, and there will be some missing word is there. Okay, so you need to tell me. Okay, what is the missing word? So change is the only thing that is
Constant.
good, constant. Right. Success is dash on effort.
Dependent.
Okay. Yes.
Heard
Yes.
this one also.
Yeah. So success is dependent on effort. Okay, so we need to put a lot of effort. Now next, what is this? Can you guess the word from these pictures? So one girl, nation. Put some plain guesses. Okay. Okay. No guess.
Isolation. Imagination.
Isolation, imagination. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good. So basically talking about independent. Okay. So independent nation. Okay. Independent women. Good. What can be the word you can interpret from these pictures? So there are some people in between. There are some people are there.
Can be a conflict or a fight.
Yeah. So there is something called, okay, control. Okay. Now I'll come to what you guessed. Okay. So there's something called variables. So do you know what are variables?
Different factors also.
Yeah. So variables are factors which varies. Okay. So it's a measurable character that varies. So it may change from group to group, person to person, and it, from time to time also. So there are two kinds of variables. So what are the two kinds of variables? So you can go back to the earlier guesses. So we have actually guessed two words initially.
Controllable. Uncontrollable.
Controllable and uncontrollable. Good.
I'm talking more about the quantitative and qualitative, the
Yeah, quantitative and qualitative. Okay, good.
type of data are you talking about?
Yeah, that is type of data. Okay, so variables.
If it's type of data, then there are quite a few.
Okay, so there is something called independent variable and dependent variable. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what do you be? We'll have just discussion, okay, rather than going for a theory. So, any idea what is dependent variable and what is independent variable? Let me ask a question. What are the different factors affecting the satisfaction of work?
Hours of work.
Hours of work. Good.
Environment.
Type of work also.
Type of work. Good.
The environment,
The environment. Great.
the culture, overall culture at your workplace.
Yeah. Overall culture.
Remuneration, your salary.
Yeah, remuneration, that is very important, obviously. But you are missing a very important point.
Learning opportunity.
Learning opportunity. Okay. You missed one big, very important point, which is related to work satisfaction.
Boss.
Yeah. A lot of studies being conducted. Okay, so most of the people leave jobs because of their bosses. Okay, so if the boss is good, okay, you may survive in the organization. So you identify a lot of factors: your boss, okay, your working environment, okay, your colleagues, okay, maybe the salary, remuneration. So do you feel all these factors affecting what? The work satisfaction. So work satisfaction is dependent on what factors? So which is dependent and which is independent? Can you tell from this example?
Work satisfaction is dependent.
Yeah, work satisfaction is dependent and others are independent factors. So all other independent factors actually influence this work satisfaction. So let us take another example. Our health. Okay, so what are the different factors which depends our health?
Our diet,
Yeah, diet. Good.
exercise pattern.
Yeah, exercises, physical exercise.
Stress.
Stress. I think there are a lot of other factors also there.
Your age.
Okay, your age. Good.
Your environment.
Environment. Good. So if you are from Delhi, okay, the air is very, very bad, okay. And Kerala is actually blessed, okay, because our air is very clean, okay. So air can be, the environment, everything can be. Now, what are the dependent? What is a dependent variable, and what are the independent variable?
Health is a dependent variable.
Yeah, health is dependent, and others are independent variables. So we need to clearly understand this concept, because when it comes to the user needs and analysis, we need to understand which is a dependent and which are the independent factors. For example, the customer satisfaction. So that is a dependent variable. There are a lot of independent variables will be there. So it's actually a skill of a design research to find out maximum independent variable which actually influence this dependent variable. So this involves good understanding of domain, good understanding of the customers, good understanding of the competition. A lot of factors comes into the picture. Okay, so I just rush through it. So we have seen what is dependent variable and what is independent variable. I'm not reading out of these theories. I hope that you understood the concept. Now there is another something called controlled variable. Okay, so anything. Do you know what is a controlled variable? So control variable is something which kept constant. For example, a customer is going to a shopping mall, okay, and there are a lot of factors being done to understand the customer satisfaction. So one thing is kept constant. For example, the air condition, or we can go to the movie experience itself. Okay, inside the theater, the air condition is kept constant. Okay, so that is something it is being not changed, but other factors it can get changed. So that will be constant throughout the experiment. Now we have seen three kinds of variables. So one is dependent, one is independent, and one is controlled variable. I hope that I'm going with adequate pace. Okay, I'm not rushing through it.
No, I'm fine.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, fine. Yeah,
okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay, now there is something called, when you have a data, so there are something called levels of measurement. Okay, so there are 4 levels of measurement. It starts with something called nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. So let us understand each levels of measurement. So nominal occupies the lowest in the ladder, and ratio occupies the highest in the ladder. So what is a nominal measurement? Okay, it basically talks about the names, labels, or qualities. No mathematical computations can be made. Okay, so for example, name of the students, we have Bhargav, Shubranil, Sandhya, Anirudh, okay, Sridhar. Okay, so can we have any interpretation from these names? No. Okay, so we cannot say that. Okay, so because of my name, okay, Pradeep is very bad. Okay, Pradeep is very good. Okay, so no kind of mathematical interpretations can be made. Okay, it's more of a qualitative kind of data. So maybe in the survey form you might have seen, okay, what is your gender? Okay, so it's a male or female. Did you enjoy the film or not? Okay, so that is the maximum we can have it. Now, what do you mean ordinal data? So it can be arranged in the order. Okay, so arranged in the order. Okay, for example, top 50 songs. Okay, of 2020. Okay, or top 10 movies, or top 10 people, okay, when it comes to the performance. So we can arrange in some kind of order. So that is called ordinal level of measurement. So in the case of surveys, okay, you might have seen, okay, how are you satisfied? So very satisfied, somewhat satisfied, neutral, somewhat dissatisfied, very satisfied. So we can rate or we can rank accordingly. But there is a big challenge in this kind of surveys or this kind of ratings. Can you tell me what is the big challenge?
This is very subjective, right?
Yeah.
So that is a problem. So trying to make a subjective data into objective is the challenge that we have.
So basically, we don't know, okay, what is the level of difference between very satisfied and somewhat satisfied. Am I right or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there is no proper kind of measurements is not there. So that is the biggest problem with the ordinal data. Okay. So that is the relevance of something called interval data. So interval data have some kind of mathematical measurement, and you can actually measure the intervals. Okay. So that have a more meaningful mathematical interpretation. Okay, so the difference between different data entries can be there. Okay, for example, temperatures, maybe it say that it is 0 to 10 or 10 to 20 or 20 to 30 years on a timeline. Okay, so we can talk about, okay, last 2 years. Okay, what was the sales figure last? Maybe we can put the years on a different timelines. So that is an interval that have more meaningful interpretation. Now there's something called ratios. Now, what is the difference between interval and ratios? Okay, so in the case of interval, there is no base point. For example, what is the base point for the temperature?
Be 0, right?
No.
Or are you looking at?
It can go minus also. Am I right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there is no base point. Okay, so unless and otherwise, if you don't have a base point, okay, you cannot do a lot of higher level mathematical computations, because it will not give you accurate figures. We may assume that, okay, temperature starts with 0 or 0 to 10, but there can be minus also there. Okay, so there is no base measurement is there. So advantage with the ratio is that, okay, it have a base measurement. For example, age, it is obviously 0. Weight, it is obviously 0. Grade point average, it is obviously 0. So you can compare one data value with another value, and you can actually put some ratios also. 1:2 or 2:1. Okay, you can have some kind of measurements also. So when it comes to the summary, so nominal, you can put in data orders, arrange the data in order, subtract the data values. You cannot do that, okay? But ordinal, you cannot subtract the data values. Interval, it is possible, but you cannot determine whether the one data value is a multiplier or of another. So ratio have all these kind of characteristics. So if your data having some kind of ratio kind of measurement, okay, it will be more accurate. So in short, okay, we have seen 4 kinds of measurements. So one is nominal, one is ordinal, one is interval, and one is ratio. Okay, so I'll share a lot of materials. You can just go through it, because why I'm saying is that, okay, after some time, okay, you will be having some live data, and we will do a lot of demo. Okay, so you need to have a basic understanding about these things. Now there is something called qualitative and quantitative, and in that again we can have a nominal, ordinal, and there's something called discrete and continuous. So what do you mean discrete data?
Discrete is absolute number, absolute value.
Yeah, correct.
And continuous is something that can be broken down into the smallest unit.
Yeah, so continuous, there can be a decimal. Okay, for example, in this example, you can say it is day 1, day 2. Okay, happy, very happy. Okay, the continuous is that there will be a decimal will be there. So we will go to the next, something called right research method. Okay, so there are different kinds of research method. Okay, so it is a structured process of collecting data. So one is quantitative as well as qualitative research. So we have seen what is quantitative and qualitative research. Okay. So qualitative research talks about more about codes, expressions, sentiments. Okay, and quantitative, okay, it is more of numerical value. So it's very simple. What is the difference between primary and secondary research?
Primary is when we are doing it firsthand, and secondary is if we are getting details from some sources.
Okay, great. So, so primary is the information gathered, okay, for the first time. Secondary is maybe from a literature or from the other resources or through some white papers. Now, there is another research called generative as well as evaluative research. Okay, now what do you mean by generative as well as evaluative research? Let us see. So basically, generative research is done, okay, when you actually trying to understand the problems. Okay, so typically, okay, when it comes to the empathy stage, okay, we do a generative research. Okay, so we may use both primary data. We directly ask the customer, what is your pain point? So secondary research is there can be some kind of data is already being studied and published. Okay, we can take that data also. So basically, the objective generated research is to understand the problem, okay, to form a potential hypothesis to how it can be solved. Now, evaluative research is conducted later on, especially when you have a prototype and you want to test the prototype. Okay. So in the case of evaluative research, we focus only on the primary research. Why? Any idea? Okay, so when it talks about generative research, we can have a primary as well as secondary kind of data, because already that kind of data may be available with the other people also. Okay, so there are a lot of research organizations like Nielsen, Gartner. Okay, they might have done a lot of studies, and we can use that. But evaluative research is something, okay, it is done, okay, when you actually developed a prototype. Okay, we want to check and validate whether this prototype is really useful for the customer. So, but in the case of evaluative research, only primary research can be done. Why?
Because of in primary data, uh, um, we searching the pain points from the primary data.
Okay, yeah.
Uh,
So that is very specific. That can be very unique because we are actually creating a prototype. That will be very unique. So there is a least possibility of having any kind of secondary data available for evaluative research. Now, you know, there's something called market research that specifically applies for marketing study, okay, understanding the customer, what is their nature, what is their characteristic, what are their needs, what are their, so these are the some example. Will this advertisement appeal to us? Are we ready for new version of product? Now there is something called ethnographic. Okay, now what do you mean by ethnographic? Okay, it's try to understand whether the culture have any impact on the behavior of the people. Okay, for example, if you go to Saudi Arabia, okay, you know, especially the women have a lot of restrictions to go out, and especially in the malls. Okay, so their behavior in the shopping malls can be different, and when it comes to their behavior in US or other countries. Okay, so what kind of, how does this environment or culture can impact or make an influence on the decision making or on the behavior of the people? So that is what we call as ethnographic research. Okay, so we have seen different kind of research. So one is primary research as well as secondary research. We have seen generative research as well as evaluative research. We have seen quantitative research as well as qualitative research. We have seen marketing research. We have seen ethnographic research. Okay, so there's some problem statement for you. So can you read this problem statement? So what you have to do is you need to understand this problem statement and tell me what kind of research we need to select. So this talks about, okay, how many people commute to work in New York City. So you need to find out how many people use public transportation, whether it is a bus, train, or subway.
Sorry, quantitative research.
Oh, okay. Quantitative research, whether we should use primary research or secondary research.
You can have primary and secondary both.
Excellent. Who said that?
Yeah.
Bhargav.
Yeah. So why you feel that, okay, you can use primary as well as secondary?
You can, because you already know the trends and you already know usage and things like that. So you're getting research from there. And you can also do some surveys, and you can also speak to a couple of people and get the primary research also done.
Okay. Great.
And you can get the data from how many tickets have been sold and
Yes.
that way.
Yeah. So that way. So you can either use secondary research, because secondary research is more easy and it is very easy to. It takes less time to analysis also. Primary research is actually it's a time consuming as well as cost is also there. Okay, but you can use both. So is it a generative research or a evaluative research we can do?
Generative.
Generative, good, because we are trying to understand the problems. Okay, so it is actually reframing the problems. It's a generative research. So basically it can be a primary or secondary research, it can be a quantitative research, and it can be a generative research. Good, I think you are getting the point. Now the problem statement number 2, you have designed a few packaging prototypes for the client, and you want to find out which design the consumers prefer.
So this will be primary.
Evaluative.
Yeah, good. It can comes under marketing research. It is a primary research and it is a evaluative research. Good. Now problem number 3. So you have been tasked with designing a sign system to help the pedestrian and cycles to stay out of each other way on an existing walking path. Especially in India. Okay, so if you have a walking path, okay, so we have seen, okay, people driving in the driving 2-wheelers on the walking path. Okay, so what kind of research we need to do?
Pradeep, you're on mute.
No, I can hear Pradeep.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that, okay, so pedestrian and cyclists, they have different pathways. Okay,
Your voice is not coming to Pradeep.
is it? How about others?
I can hear you clear.
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Maybe some problem with your network. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've got it sorted. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, okay, fine. So what kind of research we need to do? Is it a primary research or a secondary research?
It will be a primary research, I suppose.
Obviously, okay, because there not be much kind of studies being done. Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Would it be ethnographic also to find out why people are,
Excellent. Okay, so hats off you, Sandhya. Okay, it is basically ethnographic. Okay, how does the external environment impact? Okay, so how do people behave with each other? Okay, so one person is on pedestrians and other category is on cyclists. Okay, how do they behave each other? So it's basically a primary research and it is an ethnographic research. Great. So very quickly we have seen what is samples, what is variables, what is levels of measurement, what is types of data, okay, and what is methods of research. Okay, good. Now let us go to the next stage. So there is something called data science research process. Okay, so every research there is a process is there. Okay, so why process is there? Have you heard about something called blueprint? So what is a blueprint?
Blueprint could be a plan of how you want to move forward.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Suppose if you want to construct a house, okay, we do have a basic plan. Then only we put the budget and we put other things also. So it's a detailed plan of action. So data science also have a blueprint. Okay, so that is what we call as data science research process. So it consists of these stages. So step 1 is defining the problem, then formulating hypothesis, design the research, collect the data, and finally analyze, interpret, and present the findings. Okay, so we will quickly touch upon because it may be familiar to you. So first is the problem definition. Okay, so we will, as I mentioned earlier, okay, we will need to understand the research question, okay, or the problem statement. So there is a difference in design research as well as academic research. So academic research, there are different set of another kind of questions being asked. But the question should be very specific. Okay, it should be narrow also. For example, we can have one examples. So the first example is, do coaches have different leadership styles depending upon whether they are coaching team or individual sports? So it is not very narrow. Okay, so we can further categorize or drill it down. So whether it is a male or female, whether it is a professional or a amateur, whether it is which kind of sport, whether it is a elite or non-elite, whether it is a male or female, when it comes to the amateur, whether it is novice or experience, when it comes to the female, whether it is a seniors, juniors, or adult. So we can have a more narrow or specific questions which leads to something called do experience male amateur coach have different leadership style depending on whether they are coaching team or individual non-elite female junior sport. So basically what I'm intending is that our question should be very narrow. Okay. So these are some of the examples. Okay. Now we need to set some kind of objectives. Okay. Now there's another important concept called hypothesis. You know what is a hypothesis?
Assumptions.
Hypothesis is checking your assumptions.
Yeah, it's basically putting assumptions. So it is checking assumptions comes to the next stage. Okay. So when you actually go out of Bangalore, okay, you have a lot of assumptions. Sunday morning, okay, you have an assumption that okay there will be less traffic block. Okay. But sometimes, okay, I have seen that, okay, Sunday morning have a lot of traffic block also. Okay, so we put a lot of assumption. That assumption can be right or wrong. Similarly, in the case of research, we put a lot of assumptions. Okay, and based on that assumptions, we may actually check with the data whether this assumption is right or wrong. So in simple words, hypothesis is mere assumption or supposition which are to be proved or disapproved. Okay. So there is something called hypothesis testing is there. Okay, so there are basically two kinds of hypothesis. One is called null hypothesis and one is called alternate hypothesis. So let me give an example. So do you feel that, okay, so one assumption is that both have huge impact on work satisfaction. That is our assumption. Okay, so what we do, how do we test our hypothesis? So this is the problem statement, whether the boss, or this is the hypothesis, the boss behavior can have a big impact on work satisfaction. That is the assumption. So what is the next step? We need to collect the data. Okay. Based on that data, we need to test the hypothesis. So there can be two outcomes. What are the two outcomes? Based on the data.
Yes, sir, or no?
Yeah, it's basically. So the first is that, okay, boss does not have any influence on the work satisfaction. So other possibilities, boss's behavior can have an influence on work satisfaction. So there are two kind of hypotheses. So one is called null hypothesis. That is what we said. Okay, so boss does not have a impact on the work satisfaction. So we may set null hypothesis like this. So you have a test, and based on that, you have a two outcome. So one is accept the null hypothesis. So accepting the null hypothesis that, okay, boss does not have an impact. Alternate hypothesis that, okay, boss does have an impact. So every hypothesis have two kinds of things, that's called null and alternative.
So how do we choose which is the null hypothesis and which is the alternate? Like,
it's basically common sense. Okay, so typically in academic research we say that, okay, the negative statement it should have a negative statement. Okay, I mean does not have the boss behavior does not have any impact on the not the customers, the employee satisfaction. Employee satisfaction.
So that would be the null hypothesis.
That is the null hypothesis. Okay. So basically, it is our assumption. Okay, so we can put as a null or alternate in industry research. But when it comes to the PhD thesis, we need to go with the negative statement. Unfortunately, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and now. Once you set the hypothesis, you need to actually identify the sources of data. So what are the different sources of data we can have from design research? Can you tell me what are the different sources of data?
Internet.
Okay, good.
Surveys.
Surveys. How can we understand what are the different sources of data to understand the problem of the users? Surveys, internet, then
interviews, direct interviews, observations.
Good. Okay, good. So these are the different tools for design research. So one is literature review. Okay, so one is competitive analysis, one is observational note taking, so one is photo ethnography, So one is interview, so one is focus group, one is questionnaire. So these are the different tools predominantly used for design research. So let me quickly touch upon different kinds of these tools. So what is literature review? You know, okay, you have some kind of already published secondary research is there. Based on that, you try to understand and read it, and you get an inference from that. So that is a literature review. So you know what is a competitive analysis? Okay, you can pull out a lot of data from different data sources, and you can put it, and you can understand, differentiate yourself, how you are performing from the competition. Okay, what is the satisfaction level of different companies? Okay, so there are a lot of databases are there. Okay, you just need to give the money, and you can get a lot of competitive analysis. Okay, uh, I do have a membership in IIM Lucknow. Okay, so if I go to IIM Lucknow, I can pull out a lot of data and put a lot of competitive analysis. So that is one way. You know what is my observation not taking? Any idea?
You're observing users' behavior and taking.
Yeah. So you are observing user behavior. The only one thing is that, okay, you will be remain a silent spectator. Okay, you will not be involved in that process, and the customer may not be knowing that, okay, you are observing their behavior. Okay, so there is called observation note taking. So they actually behave, okay, whether the customer is looking on that particular billboard, okay, or whether that customer is looking on that particular product, okay, whether they are irritated or they are happy, okay. So whether how much time they spend, okay, you can observe a lot of things. So I'll send you a sample observation note taking. You can refer it later. Now, do you know what is a photo ethnography? It is just capturing the photos, okay, or analyzing the photos of the customers, okay, and they try to understand the behavior. It can be photo, it can be videos also. But only one condition is that, okay, you are actually trying to get into their privacy. Okay, so typically, ideally, okay, I'm again repeating, ideally, you need to have a permission from the users to understand or analyze their behavior using photo or video ethnography. Okay. Now interviews, it is very simple. Okay, you're directly approaching the user and you ask the questions. Okay, you try to understand their opinions and reactions. Okay, which will helps to design the prototypes. Now, what do you mean focus group? Any idea what do you mean focus group?
Group of participants.
Focus group is when you are interviewing or discussing with multiple people. It's not a one-on-one discussion.
Yeah. So what is the advantage of interviewing a one particular person with the multiple people?
So one person might have a restricted thought process. A focus group might bring us with multiple opportunities.
Yeah, fine. So when one person start sharing their problems, okay, so other may have some kind of new trigger process will also comes. Okay, so it's actually a collaborative approach, and it can leads to more insights for the design thinker. So that is what is called focus groups. Okay, and last is surveys. Okay, Sandhya said that the surveys is also a very important thing. Now, there are some steps, 10 steps for a good survey. Okay, so you need to have set the clear objectives. You need to put necessary question, keep it short and simple. Okay, avoid using jargons, ask one question. Okay, there is something like closed-ended and open-ended questions. Okay, so we need to spend, analyze, you need to actually validate the survey also before finalizing with the real user. So there is a lot of things are there. Okay, there are, I will just tell you, there are different kind of questions are there. Okay, so one is multiple choice select. Okay, so you have maybe 5 choices, you need to select only one. So that is one kind of questions in the surveys. You have multiple responses. Okay, for example, the customer satisfaction, there can be multiple responses. It can be the product, okay, it can be the behavior of the salesperson, it can be the environment. Okay, you can have multiple responses, you can capture multiple responses. You can have a side-by-side metrics. Okay, you know what do you mean side-by-side metrics? Okay, for example, this is the recent shopping, please the rate below based on how important. So one is one parameter is important, another one is satisfaction. Okay, so you can actually have a side-by-side metrics, because it is very easy to capture a lot of data in one set of questions. So you can have rank order question. For example, you can rank, okay? For example, when it comes to the customer sat, or when it comes to the work satisfaction, you can the behavior of your bosses. Okay, you can give as a number one rank. For some people, okay, salary is very important. Whatever the behavior of your bosses, okay, they may give you gali or they may call your father, okay, but if they get the salary, nothing else just matters. Am I right or not? Okay, so we can have some kind of ranking. This is actually something called constant sum questions. Okay, so you can allocate some points. Okay, maybe out of 100 points, how much point you are allocating for that particular question. So there is something called image type question. So how do you like your coffee? Which kind of coffee you like? Okay, so they need to just click on that particular image. There's something called open-ended question and there's something called closed-ended question. Okay, there are different survey tools are there. Okay, can you mention some survey tools?
I know one called Monkey Survey.
Monkey, yeah.
Yeah.
Survey Monkey.
Survey Monkey.
Survey Monkey, yeah, Survey Monkey. We had been monkeying around that tool for quite some time.
Oh yeah, good. Okay. And now the Google form is also very powerful. Okay, you get a lot of analytics.
Yeah, teachers are using that extensively, I think, now in
Pardon?
online classes. In online classes?
Yeah, online classes nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, teachers.
Yeah.
All these objective type questions they put on Google form.
Yes,
Okay.
now like all this tests, like whatever is conducted.
Yeah. There is no need for evaluation also. Okay, so everything will come under the package. Okay, but the Survey Monkey is a very powerful tool, and there are a lot of other tools are there. Okay. Now there is something called sample size. You know what is by sample size?
Yeah, subset of a population, right? So,
the number of participants that will be involved in the.
Okay, yeah. For example, if you want to buy grapes, okay, it's a hypothetical example, okay, and you want to understand whether this grapes is good or not. Yeah, you can take one sample and you can eat it, okay, but that may not be enough, okay, because the grapes you have chosen one sample may be a good one, okay. Maybe you have to try one or two also in order to have a correct idea or understanding of the entire population. Similarly, for every population, there is an adequate sample size should be there. If the sample size is less, okay, it will not give you correct understanding of this particular population. Okay, so it should not be less. So there is something called minimum sample size calculation is there. Okay. So there another important concept called confidence level or a margin of error. Okay, so let me ask you one question. Assume that okay, I landed up in Bangalore airport and I want to come to Brigade Road. Okay, so there are different modes of transport is there. Okay, so one is your Volvo bus. So one can be the taxi. One can be the metro is there from Bangalore airport. No, it is. I think some suburban trains are there. Am I right or not?
yeah, there is.
Recently, they've started.
Okay, so recently some suburban trains being started. Okay. Let me take another example. Okay, so Bangalore. Let us take Chennai airport. Have you been to Chennai airport?
No.
Yes, I have been.
Yeah, so Chennai airport have a lot of advantages. Okay, so it is even Delhi also having a lot of it having a metro connectivity, it having a road transportation, it having a taxi. Okay, so if you've been to Chennai airport, okay, if I want to go to the core of the city, okay, so which mode of transport have maximum confidence? I want to reach on time. Is it a metro? Metro. So you feel that okay, metro have gives you more confidence. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean it saves time and like
Yeah. So typically, it will come on time. Okay, it will actually follows the right time also. And I've been really amazed with the Bombay suburb. It is actually case study. Okay, maybe sometime we can discuss when it comes to the quality Six Sigma. Okay. So Mumbai suburbans. Okay, so you do have a confidence. If I get into a suburban train, so okay, I will reach on time. But if I get into a taxi or a or a bus, okay, I'll not reach on the time. So there's something called confidence level. Okay. So every data we need to have something called confidence level. What do you mean 5%? There's something called margin of error. Okay. So you may say that if you go to if you get into a suburban train, okay, you have a 95% confidence, or you may say that 99% confidence. That 1% is called margin of error. There can be a possible of 1% error is there. For example, if I get into a public transport bus, the confidence level can be only 80% because you are exposed to all the traffics. Am I right or not? So based on this confidence level, this is a very simple thumb rule. Okay, so if the population is 1 lakh, if your confidence level is 95%, you can have around 383. Okay, so that is the sample size. Now, when it comes to the social science research, 90 to 95% is okay, the confidence level. Okay, but when it comes to the scientific study, for example, the vaccine survey or vaccine design or vaccine research, or it need to have at least 98 to 99% of the confidence level should be there. Okay, so based on that, we need to set the sample size. Okay, so this is a tool. You need to just go and click on that. You need to just enter the population. You need to just enter the this confidence level. It will fetch you the sample size. Now, once you design the sample, okay, there is something called probability sampling as well as non-probability sampling. What do you mean probability sampling? What do you mean probability?
Probability is nothing but a possibility of a certain thing, a certain event happening, right? So
yeah. So in the case of surveys, okay, each and every response have a possibility to get selected. Okay, but in the case of non-probability, okay, there are a lot of, like, we will put our convenience, we will put our judgment. Okay. So in the case of probability, there are two kinds of sample. One is simple random sampling. In the case of lottery, okay. So how do lottery is being selected? So all this number being generated, and there is a software is there. Okay, it will select 3 or 4 people. Okay, for the lottery. So stratified is that, okay. For example, okay, you want to study the income groups. Okay. So maybe people will put $20,000 or $21,000 in that. Okay, there will be a lot of sample will be there. Out of that, this simple random sample will be there. So it will be stratified or it will be segmented. Then simple random sampling is being done. Now, non-probability sampling, there are 3 kinds of sampling. One is judgment. Okay, based on the judgment. Okay, for example, if you want to study whether a person is satisfied in the mall shopping, okay, and you assign some people. So judgment is that those who have, there is something, a lot of people go to the malls for window shopping. They just go for and they roam around and spend time. But there are some serious buyers who go and try to purchase it. And the researchers can identify whether from their behavior or from their hands, okay, whether they have some purchase something or not. So that is called judgment sampling. Convenience sampling, okay. I feel that, okay, this person will respond it. Well, so I feel that, okay, that person is very busy, and if I ask for a survey, okay, they may not respond to my survey. Quota sampling, okay, as per the characteristics of the population. For example, okay, I need to complete, okay, survey for 50 women. I need to complete a survey for 70 people, okay. So based on that quota, okay, I need to do that. So that is what we call as probability as well as non-probability sampling. So how do you design? Okay, it is basically about your research goals. So typically in every research, which sampling is better? Is it a probability or non-probability?
probability is better.
Probability is better. Okay. Because
the challenge is selecting the right kind of sampling method, because in probability you're looking at simple random sampling also, which actually can give you very, very weird kind of results. It can either be too good or too bad because it is random. So
it's random.
You have to go with a stratified kind of sampling, which actually helps you funnel down as to exactly which area, and you're covering pretty much all types of
Yeah.
data.
Okay. Yeah, true. And it is actually very time consuming, and because when it comes to the simple random sampling, the X person, maybe every 19th person may not respond to the survey. So it will keep on going, okay? But in the case of convenience sampling, you know that this person will respond to it, okay? It is a time consuming as well as cost is also involved. But the probability sampling is the best way to analyze because it gives you a better idea about the problem.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I just came now. Sorry.
Yeah, fine, no problems. Agnesh, okay, are you there? Okay, so let us start. Okay, so we were actually doing the customer journey mapping. Okay, for the movie going, and we were trying to. We already identified the stages. Then okay, we were trying to identify the different user goals or user expectation. Then we identify the touch points. Then we were actually talking about the emotional reaction to that particular touch point. So in fact, we are on which stage, okay, of customer journey consideration, am I right? So let us go to the next stage quickly.
Yes, we can go.
Arrival, yeah, arrival, okay. So can you just quickly say the different touch points? Vani, please take note of that.
Parking, security check.
Okay, first is parking, the security check.
Navigation for finding, navigation for seat finding.
Okay, so navigation.
Or we can say navigation only, because navigation for seat finding as well as for washroom.
Okay, yeah. So navigation for the seats as well as washrooms as well as the concession counters. How about the showing the ticket and getting the confirmation that you have taken the ticket?
I think that is covered in security check.
Yeah, so you. Yes,
Yeah, that is covered in security.
Yeah. What is your experience on this stage?
One.
No, I can put three, 3.5.
3. Okay.
I will say 2, not 1, 2.
Okay. Good. Wani, how about you? 3. Okay. Good. Avinash seems to be very silent. Okay.
Yeah, I would say 3.
3. Okay. So let us. I think.
How about you,
we
Pradeep?
can put it as. I would say 3.
Okay. So I'm the most dissatisfied person.
You may have higher expectation. Okay, your user persona seems to be different.
Yeah. It's more about waiting. It's more about parking, basically.
Yeah. True.
It reminds me one old Hollywood movie.
Which one?
Which one?
12 Angry Men. You know, she's the odd one. And after that, you know, everybody said actually have you seen the movie? Anyone?
No, I didn't saw that movie. Okay, but I heard about the movie. It's a good movie. Yeah,
it's a great movie.
Oh, nice. Okay. Wani?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think you took the points. Okay.
Yes, sir. 1 second.
Yeah.
So what is the average? Customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction, we can add 3, Bonnie.
Okay.
Okay, so let us go to the next stage. Okay, I think watching. Okay, so please tell me, okay, what are the different touch points in watching?
Seat,
Good.
screen
Seat.
view, screen view,
Yeah, screen view.
music. Sorry, I mean
Sound system.
Sound system.
Air condition.
Yes.
How about the smell inside the hall?
Yes. Audience.
Definitely, okay.
But we can't control it, right? So let's not write
Yeah,
it.
we can't control it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So seat less noisy. Yeah, it's fine.
So, what is your satisfaction rating? Start with Avinash.
Here I can give 2.
Okay. Where are you from, Avinash? Bangalore.
Yeah.
Okay. Bangalore have got a lot of good theater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is 4.
Okay, yours is 4. Okay, Archana?
3.
3. 2, 4, 6. 6 plus 3, 9. Vani?
Around 4.
Around 4. 6, 4, 10. So mine I will give 3. 10 plus 6, 13. 13 divided by 5. So it will be around, let us take around 3.5.
How much total point divided by 5?
Approximately 3.5.
Approximately 3.5. Okay.
Okay, good. There is, yeah, exit. Touch points.
Exit queue.
Good. Exit queue. Exit navigation.
Yes.
Parking.
Yes.
Then we are talking about feedback also, right? Am I right? Feedback, is it online, offline?
Feedback mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, online social media review.
Yeah, online social media. That is good. Maybe one feedback is directly from the booking site.
Yes.
And another is our reviews towards in the social media.
Social media, yeah.
Feedback to our friend, and okay, but
sometimes
that can
instead
be a
of writing,
point.
it can be word of mouth publicity also.
Okay, whether it can be a touch point. I mean, from a customer perspective, okay, user perspective, whether that becomes a very important aspect in getting a service.
Yes.
Okay.
Social media review,
social
word of
media.
mouth publicity.
Whether that can be a touch point, that is my question.
Okay.
A touch point is sense, okay, the user is interacting with the service provider.
Okay,
Here we are not interacting with the service provider, am I right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, right.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
that
in the case of social media, sometimes the companies may have their own social page. Okay, so that can be a touch point, not a problem. Fine.
maybe
So satisfaction rating starting from Avinash.
Yeah, I would say 2.
2. Archana.
2.
3.5.
Oh, shit. Don't
Very
give me tough
calculative.
task, okay?
Very calculative.
I did it, 3.8.
Okay, yeah. So one is Avinash is 3, okay. Abhishek is 3.5, 5.5, okay. How about Archana?
3. Sorry, 2.
3, okay. 2, okay, yeah. Then 7.5, Wani,
4.
4, okay. 11.5. I will also give 2, okay. So it comes 13.5 divided by 5. Less than 3, okay. It comes around 2.7, okay.
Yes, 2.7.
Yeah.
I think everyone has
So put
rating.
2.7. Good. Good. Great. Now, did you get any insights from this exercise? There are 2 aspects we are considering on this thing. So one is what is user expecting, and second one is different touch points. Okay.
Yes.
So in fact, okay. The last day, okay, we actually talked about different kind of services under these touch points. We are not going on that, but we got a fair idea. Okay. So where are the problem areas? Am I right or not? Now the next stage is yeah.
I think we have missed the break also. Break we didn't discuss.
Yeah, true. So after the break, okay, you missed the break, okay? So where is the break?
After watching.
After watching.
Okay. Yeah, good observation. So I think we completely missed out the break.
Yeah.
Because we took the break.
Yeah. Okay, so the touch points, okay, please let me know the touch points.
Next.
Payment mode. Payment mode for anything to
Payment.
order.
Payment, no, snacks.
Okay, yeah. Maybe start from the.
Okay.
No. Start from the initial stage of break itself.
Not defining the break timing.
Yeah. No, touch point. We are not talking about the.
Okay.
We need to identify the user goals also. Okay, yeah, understood. So what are we expecting? What are we expecting? So one expectation is that okay, there should be we should have a correct idea about what is the break timing. Vani, please take note of that. Then Archana was saying that okay, when you go to the snacks bar, okay, the different modes of payment.
Variety of snacks. Variety of snacks.
Variety of snacks. Less crowd. Navigation to the washrooms.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hygiene of the washrooms.
Hygiene of the washroom. Yes.
Oh my God. Mom, look at this. Oh.
Okay, good.
Disturbance during watching the movie because they bring some snacks and all on the seat.
Okay, can you come again, Avinash?
Yeah, while the break will be, means completely closed, then, we have ordered something, so they will come in between the watching the movie. They will disturb to other participant and and whoever ordered to.
Yes. Yeah, fine. Okay. So it should not disturb our the movie experience. Okay. Yeah. Good. Now, what are the different touch points? Can you quickly say? Exit, navigation, then washrooms, snacks bar,
Queue.
queue.
I think that's all. Is there anything else?
That's all.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Now, what is the satisfaction rate? Starting from Avinash.
I would say 2.
2. Okay. Abhishek.
3.
3, 5. Archana.
Sorry, 1. Pradeep, 1.
Only 1. Okay. 6. Okay. Vani.
3.
3, 9. Okay. Me too. 11. So 11 divided by 5, it will comes around 2.2.
2.2. Yes. The lots of area to improve.
Yeah. Okay, good, fine. So somebody take down of the satisfaction rate. Okay, so we'll start from the beginning.
First one is
first one is aware. Okay, Abhishek, can you just note it down? Customer satisfaction rate of aware stage is 3. Then okay, research is 4.
Okay.
Consideration is 4.
Okay.
Then arrival is 3.
All right.
Then watching is 3.5.
Okay.
Break is 2.2.
0.2.
Okay. Then exit is 2.7.
2.7. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. 22.4. So divided by 5, 4.48, 4.5 round figure.
Okay, 4.
Overall average.
I think that overall average. No, okay, yeah.
Divided by 6 hoga. It should be divided by 6.
Yeah, that is I'm thinking. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It should be divided by 6. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, 3.7.
3.7. Okay, good. It's not very exciting from a business point of view. Am I right?
Yeah, not exciting, not very bad.
Not very bad also, but there are a lot of areas of improvement. Okay. So let us take this as a case study. Okay, and we will combinedly try to solve this problem. Okay. So what is the next stage? So now we got a fair understanding about the stages, the touch points, expectations, and the customer's emotional satisfaction towards these stages. So what is the next stage? We need to summarize this problem. Okay.
Yes.
So there we need to create an empathy map. So do you remember the 4 or 6 quadrants of empathy map?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What are they?
The first one is think it through, then see, then say do, and then hear.
Okay.
And on the bottom it is pain and gain.
Again, okay. So Archana, sorry, okay. Vani, okay, create one sticky notes. So first is think and feel.
Oh, which page?
We are on the 9th page.
Okay.